Welcome back. Now we want to talk about party politics, and even beyond that, we want to focus on the relationship between the Senate and the National Assembly. We also want to see the relationship between the Jubilee and, of course, the Accord teams, how they are faring on so far. Of course, we're talking to Otieno Kajwang. He's not a new person as far as the world of politics is concerned. Honourable Otieno Kajwang is now the Senator, Homa Bay County. Welcome to the Power Breakfast Show. Totally appreciate indeed.
Invitation.
Right, so back then you were, of course, representing Mbita constituency.
Yes.
And of course, you've been at the helm of the Ministry of Immigration, and right now you are a senator. It's been about three months, going to the fourth. How are things so far?
Well, it's different jobs.
Absolutely.
As a member of Parliament from Beta, enjoyed it. It's a different ballgame. I was there 15 years. This is a new setup. We're trying to understand our role again, how it works, and I think we are enjoying it. I think I'm happy that I made the decision that I made. Yeah.
All right. There's a concern here coming in from one of the viewers. In fact, you can actually send your questions. The number is 22422. Somebody says here, Kajwang, what will you help us with now that you're the senator, when you couldn't give us free ID cards when you were the minister? Ujue bado tumekasirika sana.
First of all, I gave ID cards, not me, the government. And we didn't charge young people for the IDs. And we made all the efforts to go out and urge the youth to come out and take the IDs, those who had lost to replace. And I don't think that there's anybody who applied for an ID and did not get it. But there are many, many people who did not apply, and many, many people who applied did not even go for them. And many people who went for them did not register as voters. So that is another ballgame. But as a senator, my job is to protect and defend the devolved government. I'm now a representative of Homa Bay County. And the interests of Homa Bay County is what I defend, is now my interest. Anybody denying Homa Bay County what is due to them, that's my job. Anything that promotes the growth of Homa Bay County, that's my job. And I think we have cut it out, and I think we'll do a good job.
All right. There's actually a report here, you know, the decision by the Homa Bay County government to allocate 230 million shillings for buying vehicles in its 2013-2014 budget has not been taken lightly by the residents.
Well, I think the residents need to scrutinize that budget. Before the budget was published, I think the government of Homa Bay County went round to seek public opinion. Probably they should have looked at those items and seen what is it that we are buying, how many are they, for what use. And if you look at it critically, you might find that that it is in order, or you might find that it is exorbitant and is a waste of public resources. So I want to see some serious argument which says you are buying yourselves VXs for all the ministers,
230 million,
which is costing so much each VX. And you are buying Range Rovers costing so much. And you could do with an X-Trail or a RAV4 or something like that, or a Suzuki. Then the argument becomes a serious argument. But it's not just a lump sum figure, because that doesn't inform us a lot.
Because just listening to these Homa Bay County Bunge la Mwananchi Speaker, Walter Opio, basically says, attempt the whole plan, 230 million to buy vehicles. It's absolutely misplaced.
No. I think they should go into it again and say, because just it could even be 1 billion, and still it could be justified. It could be 10 million, and it could be unjustified. So it is not the sum. but it is the itemized cost. What is the vehicle for? How large is it? Is it the ideal one? Could we not do with a smaller one? That kind of argument. And I think if we go that way, you might justify the 123 or you may oppose it. So, let's go to the facts. Yeah.
Going back to the facts and details. But there's also another concern in relation to building a luxurious fitness center that is to be constructed at a cost of 2.5 million shillings. And the people are thinking...
Fitness center for who? We don't even need a fitness center. We can run along the road and around the pitch. We have enough pitches in Homa.
Absolutely.
So those are not things which the government invests in. Those are luxuries which rich people invest in. If you have your money to spend in a fitness center, you can go there. But I haven't looked at that. But I think that is not justified.
Not justified at all. Of course, other concerns come in terms of your place in the Senate. So far, we're talking about the teacher strike, and of course, one thing that has come out clearly is the fact that you have stood with the teachers so far in terms of them being paid their dues. How far have you gone with that?
First and foremost, we are in the opposition, and our job is to keep the government on its toes. These were promises that were made by the government in 1997. And the government, according to the teachers, has not complied. And the government is saying that they are obsolete. They should enter into new negotiations. The teachers are saying government promises are never obsolete. They must be enforced. And I agree with them that when a government says we will do this and puts it in writing, it is like the legal tender, the money which you have in your pocket, is also a promise by the government that we will be behind you. This will be 100 bob. So you don't change that. If you want to change it, you renegotiate. And I think that we have not handled it very well. We have not explained to teachers why we cannot deliver on the 1997 promise, which was made by the government. We are trying to split hairs. It was made by the president then. It was made during campaign. The government was arm-twisted. I don't know about all that. What I know is that when the government says we will do this, then it must do it. Because then the public gets confidence. And if you break that confidence, then you will not have a government. It's like the government saying we will pay all debts that were incurred by the previous governments. It is bringing confidence, and that makes other people deal with the government, because they know even if this government goes, still, whichever government comes in will respect the negotiations that were agreed and the agreements that were entered into.
Of course, right now we're talking about an industrial court ruling that has been given to teachers to actually resume work this morning.
Well, I looked at it as a gimmick.
A gimmick, but it's part of the judiciary.
It's a political gimmick that you can go to court because people respect courts. You go to court and say you must come to court. And then somebody says, I'm not coming to that court because I know what the court will decide. And then the court decides and says, you must go and negotiate. And then they say, we are not going to negotiate. So where do you go? You know, a court only, a decision of the court is only respected if two parties agree to the jurisdiction of that court. They say, we are coming to court in good faith, and whatever the decision of the court we will abide by. But you don't go and make a one-sided court pleadings and court judgment and hope that the other side, who actually refuse to recognize your jurisdiction, will listen.
But the argument has been the courts actually stand as a symbol of us upholding justice in this country.
Yes.
So if at all the teachers decide, you know what, we're not going to go by the ruling, then basically we're saying we're throwing out our justice system. What
the court should have done, and the court should have done this long time ago, was to tell the government, bring before me here the ruling, the agreement of 1997. Show me how you have complied. And if the court was satisfied that they have complied, then the court would make a ruling that the strike is illegal. If they have not complied, then the court would have said, go and comply, because this is what you agreed to do 16 years ago. But just to say, go and negotiate, and they have negotiated for 16 years, and that your strike is illegal, so where does that take us? It doesn't take us anywhere. I think the bottom line is that there is no good faith anymore between the two parties. The teachers are feeling that the government is not dealing with them in good faith. The government is feeling that the teachers are arm twisting them. And so there is bad blood. And I think the person who will lead this, get us out of this, is the government itself, which will come and say, well, let's sit down. Let's look at what we have done and what we have not done. I was listening this morning to the minister, I think, the Minister for Labour, saying that they have complied absolutely with every single item.
Right.
So I wish he came out clearly and published that and said, on this, we agreed this, and this, we agreed this. Even bought space so that the public can now say, then the teachers are wrong. Why are they, you know? Kenyans are not fools. When they see the facts, they will say, no, walimu, rudi shuleni. It seems like you have been paid. But not to just shout at each other, it doesn't help.
Right. You just focusing on that deal, it was actually reached in 1997. And of course, this is a new government, because that's the argument. Let's sit down and negotiate. There's another issue that basically touches on the place of the counties.
Yes.
Because so far there was a resolution that the national government should actually inherit all debts owned by local authorities before they are run by county governments. But listening to the KRA, they're basically saying the county governments must actually inherit all the debts.
No, KRA is mistaken. We debated this in the Senate, and we voted by an overwhelming majority in favor of the fact that the debts that were incurred by the local authorities were actually national government debts, because local authorities were merely departments of the national government. The government that they now want to inherit, the local authority debts, was not in existence. So when any local authority would borrow, the local government minister would authorize. And when the minister authorizes, then it is a national commitment. So we are saying, why force Homa Bay County to pay the debts of the local authority? And there were many. There are some urban authorities, there were some county councils, and so on, several of them, who incurred whichever debts. And these debts were actually incurred because these local authorities and urban councils did not have revenue base. In fact, they were relying on market collections. There was nothing else that they were relying on, including one at Mbeta Point, which I represented, was really basically relying on market dues, which could not service them. And then they go to the minister, they say, we cannot afford, help us pay out. And the minister says, you can go and get a loan. Whose loan is it? It is a national government debt. So the national government cannot run away from it. In fact, when they tell the devolved government to pay it, from where? From which resource? So the government should give that money to the devolved government to pay off. Otherwise, we will be having devolved governments that will not even start functioning. Because the auctioneers are already at their gates. Go to Siaya. The governor is under siege. The auctioneers are saying, we hear you have inherited this debt, please pay.
But the argument is you're not only inheriting the debts, but any kind of profit that was actually made if there is any, you're also taking that in. So why don't you also
when you
take
say you are inheriting a debt, it means you have no profit. So there's no profit to be taken. The only little thing that is there is the assets of the local governments, which are not many. But those assets cannot be liquidated to pay those debts. Because what you are saying is we sell the town hall so that we pay the debts. What do we do? So I think it is not KRA which should be speaking. It is the national government that should be speaking.
There's a question here in relation to, the teachers' strike. Somebody says here, why is it that ODM never, under Prime Minister, never paid the teachers during the last government, and why you think the court should be disrespected this time round?
Well, ODM was a partner in the government, but you know that all expenditure in government can only be incurred by the president. There is no single coin that you can draw from the consolidated fund. Even Parliament cannot direct that a certain payment be made without the concurrence of the president. Even now, because Parliament can do whatever it does, but until the president signs that bill, nobody will. So let's put the responsibility where it lies. It was a government responsibility, all right. It was a coalition government, all right. All of us felt even at that time that the teachers should have been paid, but no money was allocated. That is the point.
All right. So let's focus on the relationship between the Senate and the National Assembly. Of course, by last week it was more of a dilemma, especially in relation to the county revenue allocation law. How far has it gone?
Well, it is a dilemma that is created by, I think, the National Assembly, just by misreading the law. It is like there is a tug of war as to who is greater than who and who is in charge of what. And I think each person is interpreting the law as they wish. The critical job of the Senate is this: protect and defend the interests of the county government. And that any bill that affects the county government is a bill that must be debated and agreed to by the Senate. And there is no other bill that affects the Senate, in my view. There is no other bill that affects the county government more than the revenue, the division of revenue, and the allocation of that revenue. And I think the Speaker of the National Assembly acted correctly earlier when he forwarded the bill, after Parliament had agreed on the bill, to forward it to us to also have an input. And we did. And we amended it upwards. But somehow he changed his mind. He said, I should not even have forwarded it. It is not your responsibility. And consequently sent it to the president.
The president also.
The president said, I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Those senators can go to hell and sign. But the allocation is even more serious. The allocation is not even in question. The allocation actually says that the bill will be put before the Senate. And then the Senate will deal with the allocation. Because now it is so much money to be distributed to Makueni, to Homa Bay, to Mandera, and so on. And this Constitution clearly says that it is the Senate that should do that job. And then it says that after the Senate has done it, it will be forwarded to the National Assembly. And if the National Assembly is in disagreement, then they must disagree with the resolution of the Senate by a 2/3 majority, which actually shows you that the Constitution was thinking that is the job of the Senate. But the National Assembly must look at it. But if you have to change anything, a higher threshold. This time, the Speaker ruled that we are not even taking it. Even the allocation of revenue, we are not even attacking it. Let's deal with it here. And somehow they dealt with it. And I'm not sure whether the president has signed it or not. I haven't seen that. But that is the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is that the Senate is feeling like their responsibility of protecting the counties is being taken away from them. Or they are being denied the right to protect, or they are being declared irrelevant and redundant. And they are not taking it lying down, I think.
So the question would be, how are you handling the whole issue so that you walk as one team, Parliament?
Well, people should walk as one team within the law, because people disagree every day, and that is healthy, but within the law. And it was provided for that if the Senate and the National Assembly disagree on any issue, then there can be some kind of a dispute resolution mechanism. And nobody has tried to even go that way, because the National Assembly Speaker has ruled that there is no dispute. So that is it.
Because in May you called for the Constituency Development Fund to be scrapped and the money channeled to the county governments, and that particular move was seen as, you know, sort of reactive to what has been happening between the Senate and the National Assembly.
I think the National Assembly members are new to the reason or how we actually dealt with the CDF. The CDF originally was not there. There was only one government, the national government. And we said that the national government does not seem to budget for certain things that affect the county council. And we were not even happy with the county councils because of the manner in which they were handling the monies that were channeled to them. You remember the LATIF and so on, and the last DAP. There are many other funds like that. So we said, we want some money allocated to the grassroots. We can have some body here, call it the CDF Management Committee and so on, which can then manage this money. 2.5%. We actually wanted 5%, but we were told we can start with 2.5%, and we did so. It's still there. But the debate at that time was, immediately devolution comes, then we have no business running this fund. This fund should be run by the devolved government, because there is no government at the constituency. There are only two governments now. There's one government at the national, and then there's one government at the county. And we are giving them the structures to run their affairs. And we said, this money could still even go to the constituencies, because even the county government also knows that they need to reach every part of the county. So the money could still go to the constituencies, but there must be a government to run it, and that government cannot be the CDF anymore. It is like now we have three-tier government. Now the problem is that the MPs now feel like this is their power, this is their authority. That was not the intention for which we created it. We created it so that the money could reach the grassroots. We didn't create it so that the MP can have power. It is going to be looked at that way, and it is going to bring, of course, the necessary friction. The MPs are saying, now without CDF, now what is this? And some senators are also saying, we should create another CDF of our own so that we can also... then it's going to be chaotic.
Absolutely.
So we can only have to level
right.
down.
So perhaps as we come to the close of this interview, court leaders are actually mulling over an attempt to impeach Deputy President William Ruto after last week's ruling that Ruto had illegally occupied an IDP's land for 5 years.
Well, that is not court. That is court. The court has decided.
The court ruling was made, and now court leaders are basically pushing to the place of they want to even impeach the deputy president because of that.
I don't even think that the deputy president should be impeached. I think the deputy president should accept the responsibility that if you are accused of, and the court has found that you fraudulently dealt with somebody else's land and violently evicted him from his land, you should step aside
So that's something that you're planning?
We don't even have to plan it. In fact,
it should
he himself should say, this is not a good thing for me. I think I'm appealing against this, but as the appeal is being handled, I want to step aside. Because impeachment is a much more complex thing. You will have to require a 2/3 majority. But you know, whether you have a 2/3 majority or you only have 1/3, these facts are very bad for any president or deputy president. Because the deputy president is actually a president in waiting. You know, the only reasons why a president should step aside are two: breach of the Constitution and breach of the law. And if the court has found that you have breached the law, it doesn't have to be called saying it.
But do you think it will happen? Do you think he will stand and say, you know what, I'm stepping aside because
of course he will not. And of course he will give the opposition a field day. And I hope it strengthens him or weakens, whichever way it goes.
Because according to the ODM Secretary General and Kisumu County, Professor Nyong'o revealed that CORD might take the battle to the Senate and the National Assembly. So it's basically something.
They could go to the Senate, they lose because of numbers.
Yeah,
They'll go to the National Assembly, they lose because of numbers. Somebody will go to court to get a declaration, they may lose. But the fact is that it is a political issue now and a legal issue at the same time and a moral issue. Whether you should accept that you did something wrong, be contrite and apologize. Look at why Clinton was being impeached. It was not about all those things that were said. It was that he had lied on an affidavit. He had lied. He swore a falsehood. And look at what Honorable Ruto is facing. He swore an affidavit, which the court has said was a lie. He swore that some girl sold him land. The girl said that I was too young even to transfer land and I don't know about it. And the court finally said this is fraudulent and you have occupied somebody's land and driven him out illegally, breaching his constitutional right, ownership of land. You must compensate him. That is a serious indictment. In fact, that is why I think I saw his lawyer say that they must appeal. Because to stand the way it is standing is a serious indictment.
Yeah, of course you've made a couple of demands as well in relation to even IEBC, saying that you feel the results were actually doctored and that is why the results have not been published. So
No, IEBC is in a problem. IEBC has found out that the votes cast for president, because to divide the money, there must be some agreement between the votes cast for the president and the votes cast for members of parliament. That's how we made the law. So they have been adding up the votes cast for the members of parliament so much, then the votes cast for the president so much, and the difference is a whooping 1.7 million. So it is like there were some 1.7 million voters who only voted for the president but did not vote for all these other people. And there are no spoiled votes to suggest that they threw them away or something. So they must explain this discrepancy. Now they can't, so many months later. And they're now saying we change the law so that we distribute the money according to the membership, members of parliament a party got. And we are saying why? Because these figures are not adding up. So must we change the law so that the figures add up? Because the figures must add up. Because when you declared the results, you said the figures added up. And you did them well within the law, within the constitution, and everybody else making noise is just a noisemaker. So we demand that they be published.
So what if, what is the way forward in terms of handling that particular matter? Do you foresee a situation where you will push till the end?
Well, it is a constitutional requirement that they publish. In fact, they should have published within, I think, 30 days. They have not published up to now. And sooner or later, somebody will go to court to demand that they publish. Somebody has gone to Parliament to try to ask. I think the Speaker overruled him and said they are in the website. They are not in the website. So somebody will go to court. It will generate some healthy debate. We want to see whether really these results were genuine, the way we have said they were genuine.
All right. So perhaps a final one here in relation to the VAT Bill 2013. Of course, it's going to be introduced today at the National Assembly level.
The government should not do anything that can increase the burden of Kenyans, especially on food. You don't do such a thing in the world. You go to any other civilized country, the only thing the government subsidizes is food. In America, they even subsidize fuel. But instead of subsidizing, you want to tax it so that unga becomes more expensive. The noise we are going to have of unga in the streets here will be worse than the teachers' one. Because the teachers also buy unga.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. So thank you so much indeed, Honorable Otieno Kajwang there, Senator, Homa Bay County. We'll be right back.